All right, so today we're going to really dig into AI.
Sounds exciting.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
But not just what it can do, but more like how we can control it. I think lots of people kind of see AI as this like mysterious black box,
Right.
spits out answers, but like
Yeah.
who knows how or why, right?
Yeah, definitely.
But what if we could actually be in charge?
Yeah.
Like be the ones leading the AI
Yeah.
to create what we actually need.
Well, that's where prompt engineering comes in. It's all about like writing really specific instructions, or prompts we call them. And that's how you guide the AI to produce the results that you're hoping for.
So instead of just asking like, hey, AI, how does a car work?
Right.
We could get way more detailed, like something like, explain how the fuel injector works in a four-stroke engine. Would that kind of specific question actually get us better results?
For sure, it's like searching on the internet. If you just type in cars, you'll get a zillion results, right? But if you get more targeted, like a fuel injector function in four-stroke engines, then you'll actually find what you need.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That makes sense. But it's not just about getting all technical and detailed, is it? Like I was reading about how important context is, too.
Oh, yeah, you're right. Context is super key. Like, let's say you want the AI to help you with writing a cover letter for a job. You got to tell it about the company and the specific job you're going for, even like the tone you want to use. Those little details make a huge difference.
So it's like we're setting the scene for the AI, giving it the whole backstory so it can create something that really fits.
Exactly. Think of it this way. Like if you ask a friend to write you a song, you wouldn't just be like, write a song,
Yeah.
You'd tell them what kind of music you like, what kind of mood you want, maybe even give them some ideas. It's kind of the same with AI. More context equals better results.
That makes me think about how people are using this in the real world. Like I saw an article about writers using AI to get over writer's block and be more creative.
Yeah, absolutely. Writers are using AI for all sorts of stuff now, like brainstorming blog post ideas, or even outlining whole novels, even writing poetry. And the key here is to craft those prompts so that they don't just, describe the content, but they also set the creative tone. So you could like tell the AI to write a poem in the style of Shakespeare, or like a short story with a dystopian feel.
Wow. So it's like having a co-writer
Yeah.
who can tap into any style you can imagine. I bet that's changing how creative teams work.
Yeah.
But can you give us a real world example of how someone would use this, maybe like in marketing?
Sure. So imagine you're a marketing manager and you're launching this new product.
Yeah.
You could use AI to come up with all sorts of taglines or even write different versions of ad copy. You just got to give it the right prompts, tell it who you're targeting, what the product does, and how you want the message to sound. You could even give it examples of good taglines from other similar products. So the AI has a model to work from.
That's amazing. So instead of spending hours brainstorming taglines, you could have the AI generate tons of options in just minutes and then just refine from there. What a time saver. This also makes me think of customer support. Like chatbots are everywhere now.
You're totally right. Those chatbots really rely on good prompts so they can understand and respond to customers. Like let's say you have an online store. You can use prompts to teach the chatbot how to answer common questions, about shipping or returns, or even about specific product features. The key is to give it clear instructions and specific examples so it can give accurate and helpful information to your customers 24/7.
It's like having a virtual customer service team that never sleeps. And the best part is with prompt engineering. You can even control the chatbot's personality. You can even make it funny or quirky.
Exactly. The possibilities are pretty much endless. But as you really get into prompt engineering, it's important to remember that AI is still a tool. It's a super powerful tool, but it's only as good as the prompts you give it.
Right. So how do we know that we're giving the AI the right instructions, the right stuff to fuel its creative fire?
Well, that's where the art and science of prompt engineering come in.
Okay, so we've seen how powerful this can be, but now I'm really curious about the how. What are some of the key things to keep in mind when you're actually writing these prompts?
Oh, that's a great question.
What makes a good prompt versus a bad one?
Let's dive into some of the core principles of effective prompt engineering so you can start using this technique like a pro.
Sounds good to me. I'm ready to level up my prompt game.
All right, let's do it. So one of the most important things is to be super specific. Like, don't be afraid to really spell things out for the AI.
Okay, so the more specific we are, the less chance the AI will misunderstand us.
Exactly. And another great tip is use examples to show the AI what you're looking for. Like, let's say you want it to write a product description, but you want it in a very specific style. Well, you can actually show it a few examples of descriptions that you like. That way it can pick up on the tone and the structure and all those key elements you want.
Oh, that's cool. So it's like we're giving it a blueprint or a style guide to follow. It's amazing how AI can learn from examples like that. But doesn't that run the risk of making the prompt like way too long or too complicated? How do we keep it specific but not overwhelm the AI?
Right, that's where you got to be concise too. You want to give it enough information so it understands what you want, but you don't want to bog it down with useless details. Think of it like writing a good headline. Short, catchy, and to the point.
Okay, so a bit of a balancing act then. Finding that sweet spot where it's detailed enough, but not so long that it confuses the AI.
Exactly. And here's another tip. Don't be afraid to experiment. Try different ways of wording things. Play around with the structure a bit. See how the AI reacts to different approaches.
So it's kind of like we're detectives, trying to crack the code of how to talk to AI.
Uh-huh. Yeah, I like that.
But what if the AI just isn't getting it? What if the output is just totally off base, no matter how carefully we craft the prompt?
Well, that's where the iterative process comes in. You know, don't expect perfection on the first try. You got to analyze the output and see where the AI might be misunderstanding you. And then you just refine the prompt based on that. It's like a back and forth, a dance between you and the AI.
So we're actually learning from the AI's responses too. It's a conversation, not just a one-way street.
Exactly.
I like that a lot.
Yeah.
But even with the best prompt engineering, I imagine there are still some things that AI just can't do.
Of course, AI is still evolving. It's incredibly powerful, but it's not magic.
Yeah.
There are definitely some tasks that are still better suited for us humans.
Right.
Like, let's say you're creating a marketing campaign. AI can help you generate ideas, but it might not be able to capture those subtle emotional nuances that a human marketer would bring to the table.
Right. So it's about knowing when to use AI as a tool to enhance our own abilities and when to rely on our own unique human skills.
Exactly. And another thing to keep in mind is AI models are trained on massive amounts of data, right? And that data can reflect some of the biases and limitations that exist in the real world. So it's important to be aware of those biases and to really think critically about the AI's output, especially when you're dealing with sensitive topics.
That's a really important point. We can't just blindly trust everything the AI gives us.
Definitely.
We have to use our own judgment too, to make sure the output is fair and accurate and aligns with our values.
Absolutely. And that actually brings us to another really interesting aspect of prompt engineering. It's not just about generating new content. It can also help us analyze and understand existing information in new and insightful ways.
Oh, wow. Tell me more about that.
Well, imagine you're a researcher. You're studying this complex topic, and you have mountains of data to sift through. Well, you could use prompt engineering to ask the AI to summarize the key findings from all those papers, or to identify patterns in the data. It can even help generate new hypotheses.
Wow, that would be a game changer for researchers. It's like having a superpowered research assistant.
Exactly, and it's not just for academics either. Businesses can use this too. They could analyze customer feedback, track market trends, even predict future outcomes based on historical data. The possibilities are pretty mind-blowing.
This is all so fascinating. It feels like we're just scratching the surface of what's possible with prompt engineering. But before we get too lost in the future, I'd love to hear some practical tips for our listeners. You know people who are excited to try this out themselves.
Yeah, sure.
What are some best practices that you recommend?
That's a great question.
What should people keep in mind as they get started?
Okay, so here are a few tips to get you started on your prompt engineering journey.
Awesome. I'm taking notes. This is gold.
So first things first, start simple. You don't have to create these super complicated prompts right away. Just start with the clear and concise instruction and then see what the AI comes up with.
Okay, so just kind of test the waters first, get a feel for how the AI reacts before we try anything too fancy.
Exactly. And then once you have a basic understanding, don't be afraid to experiment, try rewording things, play with the structure a bit, see how the AI responds to different approaches.
So it's like we're teaching the AI, helping it learn our style and preferences over time.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it. And another important tip is to provide clear expectations. Like if you want a certain length format or style, tell the AI that up front.
So if I want a blog post that's exactly 500 words and written in a casual tone, I should just tell the AI that right from the start.
Absolutely. The more specific you are with your expectations, the better the AI can tailor its output to meet your needs.
This is making me realize that prompt engineering is more than just a technical skill. It's like a whole new way of communicating, learning to speak AI's language.
You got it. And just like learning any new language, it takes practice and patience. Don't get discouraged if your first few attempts aren't perfect. That's the beauty of AI. You can keep experimenting, refining your prompts, and learning as you go.
It's like we're opening up this whole new world of creative possibilities, one prompt at a time.
Exactly. And as you continue to explore, remember that the power of prompt engineering goes beyond just generating content. You can also use it to analyze information, solve problems, and even come up with new ideas.
Wow, so it's like we're not just users of AI, we're becoming collaborators, working together with this incredible technology to achieve some pretty amazing things.
That's the idea, and the best part is this power is available to anyone who's willing to learn and experiment. You don't need to be a coding genius or a tech expert to harness the power of prompt engineering.
That's really inspiring. It makes me think about all the amazing things people will create with AI in the future. But before we wrap up, I want to bring it back to our listeners. What's one key takeaway, one piece of advice they can take away from this conversation and use in their own lives?
That's a great question. I think the most important thing is to embrace the mindset of a prompt engineer. Start looking at everything around you at work, at your hobbies, even your everyday challenges, and ask yourself, how could I use AI to help me with this?
So it's about seeing the potential of AI everywhere and then using prompt engineering to turn those possibilities into reality.
You got it. The future of AI is in our hands, and with the power of prompt engineering, we can shape that future in incredible ways.
Well said. I think that's a perfect note to end on. I want to thank our amazing expert for sharing their knowledge with us today. It's been a fascinating journey into the world of prompt engineering.
It was my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
And to all our listeners, thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. We hope you've learned something new, been inspired to try out some AI magic, and maybe even discovered a hidden talent for prompt engineering. Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep pushing the boundaries of what's possible.